Jyoti Ranjan is still not here. We'll wait for 2 minutes.
Okay, is there anyone from class 4 having a question? Just say it once.
So we have one question from class 5. And if anyone else from class 4 and 5 has any questions, you can write it down in the chat box and we will take it up. Yes, Devu Prasad. But we'll start with class 6 in 10 minutes because not even 10 minutes, like 5 minutes, because we only have one question in class 6. So it's better if you stay. So I think we should start now because otherwise we'll be late. If they come later, then we'll explain it once more.
Everyone is having a question from 4.
Yes, Anirban, this is also for class 4. I told you, if anyone has any question in classes 4 and 5, other than the ones that you put in the app, if you have any other questions, you can ask it here in the chat box and we'll take it up.
Okay, so let's start. So this is
Yes, Arijit is asking one question, that is what is symmetrical?
So we'll take it up after the question we have in the presentation. Okay, so Jyoti Ranjan from class 5 has asked, what is the word's impossible drawing triangle? And I think Rima ma'am will be taking this question. So,
Jyoti Ranjan, are you present?
no, Jyoti Ranjan is still not here actually, but there are some other kids from classes 4 and 5. I think we should take the question.
Okay. So, the impossible triangle is the Penrose triangle, that is the optical illusion type triangle. Here you can see a box is running around this figure, and you can assume that there is a triangle, but there is not the exact triangle. This is an optical illusion of your eye. So this is the impossible triangle that we have for, that is the impossible triangle that we can't draw a proper triangle. So this is called a Penrose triangle, and this is a diagram which causes by the optical illusion. So this is what Jyoti Ranjan was asking.
Okay, and there is only one other question from Orijit from class 5. He has asked it in the chat box. What is symmetrical?
Yeah. So Arijit, what is symmetrical? Your body is asymmetrical, right? Right. If you cut your body in half of the, if human body are cut in the half portion, so left part will be equal to the right part. Means if you put all the figures aside, that part will cover the previous one. So this is the symmetrical. Like your hands are the symmetrical because it will cover. If you see from the front of your, from the front side, you can't see my left arm, right? So every figure is the exact equal in two parts that are the symmetrical. In the leaf, you can see a structure of a line in between the leaf. So by that line, you can divide leaf into two equal parts. So that two equal parts are symmetric. Okay, Arijit?
Yeah, he's saying, okay, ma'am. I think it's clear to him. So we now have lots of participants from 6, 7, and 8. So I'll move on to the next section.
Do we have any questions from 4 and 5? Anyone?
Yeah, so
Ask anything?
for 4 and 5, students, you can stay or you can wait. It is up to you. If you
And
want to
also,
stay,
you can ask any question if you have any question in the chat box, which you may not have been able to ask. And you are most welcome to say, as Rima ma'am said, you can stay and listen to what questions your seniors have asked. Or otherwise, if you want to, you can leave. So we'll start with the next section. So Anumiti, I don't think Anumiti is here still. So we'll skip this one for now. But we have, we have Orchishman, and we have another person who also asked questions. So we'll take them before. So we'll go back to this question. Okay, Anumati is here, so we can take the previous question.
Anumati, are you present?
I have just admitted her. She's not yet just showing joining. Okay, she's here. Anumiti, you are here? Anumiti? She's here. Anumiti, can you hear us? I can see her in the participants list, but she's not responding.
Anumati, are you present? Please respond in the chat section.
Some network issue.
Yeah. So Anumati, your first question is about what is the difference between laboratory and clinical thermometer, right? So there are basically there are two difference. Moon, can you go to the next slide? Yeah. So these are the two major difference between laboratory and the clinical thermometer. The first one is about the range. The range for the clinical thermometer goes from 35 degrees centigrade, typically 35 degrees centigrade to 42 degrees centigrade. Or in Fahrenheit, it goes from 94 degree Fahrenheit to 108 degree Fahrenheit, right? And for the laboratory thermometer, it goes from minus 10 degrees centigrade to 110 degrees centigrade. Okay, so these are the range, temperature range, the difference of temperature range between the clinical thermometer and the laboratory thermometer. And the second major difference is that there is a kink in the clinical thermometer. Kink means a bended structure in the capillary tube that prohibits to sudden fall of the mercury. Okay, so this bended structure you will not find in the laboratory thermometer. So these two are the major difference, and you know that clinical thermometer are used for to measure the temperature of human body, right? And the laboratory thermometer are used in the lab or in the factories. Okay, so these are the differences between clinical and laboratory thermometer. Now, are you clear with your doubt? Okay. Anumati, are you in class 6 or class 7? Okay.
She's in the 6 ICS yet. I saw her in class last.
Because in some classes I have seen her in my class. So that is why in CPSC batch. Okay then. Let's move to the next question.
Oishani. Oishani, are you here? No, Oishani is not here. So we'll take up this question later. Okay. Nishtha Verma, class 7. I don't think Nishtha is here as well. So Nishtha is also not here. Shagnik, are you there? Yes, Shagnik is there. Shagnik,
Yeah.
can you please respond in the chat box? Yes.
Yeah. So Shagnik, your first question is not clear to me. What is you have written in the doubt box is not very clear to me, so I didn't solve it. So for the second question, you can try it yourself. It is very easy. If it is only the fractional, then it is very easy. Here you have written 8 minus 1 by 2 equals to 0. So this part is not clear to me. So let's see the second question. You have asked me second question 2n plus 3 by 6n minus 5 equals to 1. Right. So this is the very easy question. You have to just put the terms in the numerator and denominator, that is in fractional form, and just substitute for the n value, or you can solve it for the simple linear equation. Okay, and solve it and you will get the value of n equals to 2 for this equation. Right. And the third question is in two-digit number, the unit digit is twice the tens digit, and the difference between number and number formed by reversing the digit is 80. So first you suppose that unit digit is x, so the tens place digit will be automatically equal to 2s as it is given in the question. Now the original form of the number should be 10 into 2x plus 1. आपको पता है original number कैसे बनाते हैं? Actual number that we form. Do you know how we form the actual number? Yes. So this will be the actual number, and reversing the digits, the number will become 10x plus 2x. So it is given that difference of these two numbers is equals to 80. So this is the simple linear equation. You have to solve it and you will get x equals to 2. And then you can find out the original number by putting x equals to 2 in this term, in the first one. Okay. I know you can do it by yourself. ठीक है, कोशिश करो, नहीं होगा तो फिर नेक्स्ट क्लास में we will take up it again. So next question, Moon, can you go to the next one?
Yes.
Oh. So the next question says the two-digit number, in a two-digit number, the tens digit is one more than the twice of the unit digit. So first you have to break the question. The first line, from the first line, what we get, the information we get. If we suppose let unit digit will be x, then 10 digit will be 2x plus 1 as given in the question. So the actual number will become 10 into 2x plus 1 plus x. Right? Is this line is clear to you, Sadhna? Yes. And the second line, it says the sum of digit is 36 less than the number formed by reversing the digit. Okay. Find the product of the digit. So the actual number will become 10. The actual number will become 10x plus 2x plus 1 is equals to, by reversing the digit, x plus 2x plus 1 plus 1, 36. If you are not understanding this question, we will take up it in the next class. Will it be okay to you? If you are not understanding, we will take up it in our class. Okay. And the next question. Okay. If you are understanding, then well and good. No, that previous one, the last question is. Yeah. So the next question is, in two-digit number, the sum of digit is 5 more than the unit digit. So the sum is given, and if you assume unit digit equals to 1 and the sum is given 5 more than the unit digit. So tens digit क्या हो जाएगा 5? Are you getting this line? If unit digit is x and sum is x plus 5, so what will be the 10 digit? The 10 digit will be 5. So the number will become 50 plus x minus x plus 5 equals to 10x plus 5 plus 10. And if we solve it, we will get the value of x. Okay. The value of x will be 3 and the difference will be 2 between two numbers. Very easy question. Moonman, can we go to the next slide? Yeah. So this is your last question, Sarma. X is divided among ABC. Rupees X is divided among 3 persons, that is ABC. The share of A is 1/4 of total amount. The share of B is 1/3 of remaining money. And the share of C is given 2/3. So very simple question. You have to find out the share of what share is rest for C person, right? So for A it is x by 4. For share B you have 3x by 4 of 1 by 3. So share of B will become 3x by 12. So you have to minus all this from the total amount, that is x. So x से आप इन सबको minus करोगे, you will get the share of C. तो C का share कितना मिल रहा है? X by 2. And it is given that share of C is equals to 1200. So you have to equate these two terms. X by 2 is equals to 1200. The value of x equals to 2400. Okay. So if it is 600, then you can take up another approach, that you have to just minus the share of b by 3x by 4. मतलब 3x by 4 minus 3x by 12. Let me show. Okay. Sarnik, if you are not getting this question, then we will take up it in our class. The share of B must be the share of C. You have doubt in share of C. We will take up it in class. Okay. Sarnik, will it be okay to you?
Yes, Shagnik has written that it will
Yes,
be
we
better
will
if you.
take. Yes, we will take this question in for the class.
Okay, so the next question is, so Jyoti Ranjan is here now. So should we take up that question once again? After 6, 7, 8 maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
The next question is by Orchishman.
I think he's late.
Sir, you are not very clear. Voice is not.
So if Rima wants to take it, she can, because 8 has many questions.
True. So, okay, then we'll go back to Jyoti. Jyoti Ranjan, you are here? If yes, please write down in the chat box. Orchishman, just wait 2 minutes. Yes, Jyoti Ranjan is here. So,
Yeah, Jyotiranjan, for your question, the world's impossible joint triangle is. Moonman, can you go to the next slide?
yes.
Yeah. So this is the impossible triangle that I think you want to know. This is the Penrose triangle. It is an optical illusion. You can see a box is moving around the structure. So your eye will see a triangle, but it is not an exact triangle. So this is called a Penrose triangle. It is impossible to draw, but you can draw. Okay, so it is an optical illusion. So this is the Penrose triangle. Okay, Jyotiranjan.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Devo Prasad, you are saying one of your question has been left. Can you write it down here? That will be of great help, actually. Okay. Orchishman, you are here, right? So I'll unmute you. Please tell me what exactly is it that you are not getting in significant number. Orchishman, unmute yourself. You are not able to understand the entire thing. So the entire thing is not something that we can take up in the DCS session. I think you should maybe review the recordings of the videos, and otherwise we'll have to take it up in the class again. We can't cover it in the entirely in the DCS session, but I'll just say what is the basic concept. So whenever we make a measurement, suppose I am trying to measure the length of this book with a scale. So it might be that what is the minimum length that a scale can measure? Tell me, what is the minimum length? Not 0.01. 0.1 centimeter. And also Xiaom, where is the unit? Okay, Jayashree is correct, 1 millimeter. So 1 millimeter is the minimum distance or the minimum length that we can measure in a meter scale. But it might be that we get the length of this thing, length of this book in like suppose 10 centimeters, 5 millimeters, but the end of this book lies between the markings of 5 millimeter and 6 millimeter. So it is slightly more than 5 millimeter, but we are not able to measure that using a scale because we do not have that much of accuracy in a meter scale. So this this kind of measurements, any measurements that we make in real life have some amount of uncertainty, and to determine what amount of uncertainty is there in the measurement, or in simpler words how incorrect the measurement is, we use the concept of significant numbers. So we say that the more number of significant figures a measurement has, it is the more accurate. So if I could actually measure it down to millimeters and even lower than like 0.1 millimeter, 0.01 millimeter, then it would be more accurate. Like if I could write it as 10.576 something centimeters, it would be very accurate. But if I write it as 10.5 centimeter, it will be less accurate because we actually have numbers after that. We are just not able to measure it properly due to the lack of a proper instrument. So 10.5 has 3 significant figures, while 10.576 has 5 significant figures. And so a number that has higher number of significant figures, a measurement that has higher number of significant figures is more correct. So is this basic concept clear? Okay. And now there are a lot of rules in relation to how to calculate the number of significant figures of a measurement, which are to be considered as significant figures, which are not to be considered as significant figures, but that cannot be covered in DCS. It will take up like 1 hour. So yes, sure is the doubts of class 7 has been done, but some of them were not present, so those doubts are still there. Okay, Urchishwan. So now Shyam has asked this question. Shyam, you are here? So Shyam, tell me something. You had 3 questions. And let me tell you, you had marked your first question as Devaprasad, I can't find your question. Maybe there has been some problem. So if you can put in your question in the chat box once again, we'll take it up. Because it wasn't there in the CRM, I think. Otherwise, I wouldn't have missed. So if you can like write it down in the chat box again. So Shyam is here. Shyam, you had marked your first question as belonging to the chapter number system in maths, but significant figures is not a concept of maths. It's a concept of physics. It is the concept of physics because it has nothing to, maths is about absolute numbers. But in physics, we always have some uncertainty in measurement because no instrument is absolutely accurate. So I want to ask you for your first question that have you ever come across any instrument that gives a measured value in terms of a recurring decimal? Is it possible? Suppose you are measuring something. Suppose you are measuring anything with a meter scale, a measuring tape. You take something even more accurate. Take something like vernier caliper maybe or screw gauge. Will any instrument give you a measurement that is in terms of a recurring fraction or a recurring decimal? No, it's not possible. So since a measurement cannot be in terms of a recurring decimal, there is no point of saying what are the significant figures for a recurring decimal. So it is not even defined. Significant figures only come in relation to measurements. Otherwise, for normal numbers, we do not have significant figures. Yes. Okay. So this is clear, right, Shyam? Yes, Devaprasad, I had seen that question of yours. Actually, it didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't understand the question. Rima ma'am, can you have a look at the question he has written? Yes, Shyam, this is only used for measurement. Why will it be used for anything else? It is just a concept used to tell how accurate a measurement is. So significant figures are only for measurements. Snehatri, we have discussed class 6. So Kanchan is saying the answer is 650 mils. Can you tell me the question? I think Devaprasad is missing some.
Yeah, I can take up it.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Debu, if you are considering that factory, in the whole factory, the number of people is 1, right? whole factory, the number of male and female person are equal to 1. So if we're considering whole part is equals to 1 and it is given that 10 by 20 are male, that means half of the persons are male and female are 650, right? So there are only two kind of people. Some are male and some are female. And it is telling about 10 by 20 are male. That means 1 by 2 are male, half of the male. And rest half should be female in that fact. Right? And together they are making 1300. Getting my point, Debo? So the number of male persons should be 650. Okay? Now it is clear to you?
Yes, he's saying that it is clear. So, okay, we'll move on to Shyam's second questions.
What Poloman is asking from class 6 something. She has any
No, it's
questions?
not Polomi actually. She has joined from her. He has joined from his mother's account, maybe. It's Snehadri.
Okay, Snehadri, then he's having some question.
No, he is saying that when have we taken up class 6's question? So I told him that yes, we have. There was only this one question, Snehadri, from class 6,
Snehadri,
and
if you have
now
any question, Snehadri, if you have any question, you can ask now, or you can write in the chat box.
Snehadri, if you have any question, as Moinak sir said, you can obviously put it up in the chat box when we'll try to take it. But otherwise, the questions that we had for class 6 have been covered. So Shyam, are you still there? I'll take up your second and third question now. Yes, okay. So first is clear. Now I'll go to the second question. So what is resonance in sound? So normally every object that you see, if you hit that object, it will vibrate at a particular frequency. Now that frequency cannot be determined by us. It is a property of that particular substance. So what happens if suppose we just hit an object once and it starts vibrating at its natural frequency. Now this frequency which comes to it naturally is called the natural frequency. So it starts vibrating in the natural frequency and we apply another vibration to it with the same frequency from outside. So what happens is that it was already, suppose it was already vibrating like this. Now we are applying another similar wave of vibration to it from outside. So what happens is that the amplitudes of these two waves, you can see in the diagram. You can see my mouse, right? The amplitude of these two waves, they add up to form a bigger amplitude. So maybe the and you know the loudness of sound is determined by the square of the amplitude of the sound wave. So maybe initially due to its low amplitude, we couldn't hear the sound due to the vibration. But now due to this increase in bias in the amplitude, we can actually hear. So it feels like by applying a vibration from outside, we are actually making another object produce sound without even touching it. So it appears like magic, but it is basically that if two objects are closed place very near to each other and we hit and they have the same natural frequencies and we hit the first object, suppose we have two tuning forks. Have you heard of tuning forks? Okay, suppose we have two tuning forks and both vibrate at the same frequency. So they are kept side by side on a table. We hit the first tuning fork It starts to vibrate at its natural frequency. Now this vibration travels through the air and goes and hits this air. This vibrating air goes and hits the other tuning fork, and it also starts vibrating at the same frequency. And even if we stop the first one, it still continues vibrating, the second tuning fork. So it appears very magical, but it's actually physics. And it happens due to this adding up of the amplitudes of the two vibrations. Is that clear? Okay. And I want to actually show you something. I'll just pause sharing for a moment. Okay. So this is a link of a video. Okay, why can't I paste? Yeah. This is a link of a video. I've given it on the chat box, the link. So this is a link of a video from MIT. It shows how the resonance effect of sound can be used to break a glass. You may have heard that opera singers break glasses just by singing. You may have seen it in films and etc. So it basically is that. So how you can use a sound to break a glass without even touching that glass. So after the class, the CS is over, you may go and check this out, but not now because you have another question left.
This can be part of in another way also. Resonance is actually of 2 or 3 ways. Okay, Shan, can you hear me? Shan, can you hear me? Okay. So actually, just think resonance is a way of natural communication of systems. Okay. Each and every object in this nature has its own natural frequency due to the reason of its existence. Okay. Frequency is everywhere, or the vibration is everywhere in this materialistic universe. Okay. Everything vibrates with its own natural frequency, which comes from its existence actually. If you want to take out that frequency of vibration, it will die actually. Okay, so everything has a natural frequency. Now the resonance is actually the way to communicate energy. Okay, think of some object like you can take some chemical elements or molecules. Even if two molecules are having similar type of energies, they will have similar type of frequencies. If they come together, they can communicate their own energies. Now this communication you can think of like the FM communications. Okay, the frequency modulated communications, we say FM. Okay, there is a transmitter station, there is a receiving end at your mobile phone. No one is having a physical contact with each other. Transmitter station is just transmitting a frequency, suppose some 98 point dot dot hertz. Okay, now your mobile frequency is to be adjusted with that frequency. Then only you can listen up to what they are saying or what the information is getting exchanged. Okay, so resonance is a way to communicate without having a touch. In everywhere there is a kind of resonance. In electromagnetic waves there is a resonance which comes without a medium. In longitudinal waves there is a resonance which comes with a medium. So it's not that every point we need a medium. Okay, so resonance is a natural way of communication. Everything can communicate with every other thing just by adjusting their own frequencies, natural frequencies to something else. Okay, now you can see these things in many situations. Okay, the best way to have an example is to see or look upon the FM. FM is the best way in which we see resonance and the frequency modulated resonance. There are amplitude modulated resonances and velocity modulated resonances also. So velocity, amplitude, these all things can actually be matched at a particular point of frequency value. So the idea is to have a measurement of their oscillations and how the oscillations are matching. Whatever ma'am was saying and displaying in this graph is, if you can look, the peaks are actually matching. And once they are matched, see the violet peak, it has enlarged. So the amplitude gets doubled. So it's kind of addition. So they got matched and they got added. Okay. So in this way, you can feel resonating objects and their frequencies. You can have an idea of their summation or adding up the values or informations. So resonance simply is put is a way to communicate information from one system to another. Okay.
Okay, going to your next question. Your next question was about, so you are asking about how does the brain differentiate between the signals from our eyes and the signals from our ears if both are transformed into electrical signals into our brains? So the answer is that yes, both are transformed into electrical signals because our nerves can only transmit electrical signals. That is how they communicate. They cannot communicate in any other way. But the visual system, not only including the ear, but also the part of the brain that makes sense of the sound we receive from the ear, is entirely different and separate from the visual system. So the auditory system is entirely separate from the visual system. The visual system has eyes and certain parts of the brain. So that is only meant for understanding and perceiving visual information. And the other part of the brain, and there is another part of the brain along with the ear, obviously, which is responsible for making sense of the electrical signals received from the ear. So one portion is dedicated only for perceiving hearing, and that portion only receives the electrical impulses from the ear. That portion of the brain doesn't receive any electrical impulses from the eye. So there is no chance of confusion. And the part of the brain that receives information from the eye doesn't receive any electrical impulse from the ear. So again, there is no chance of confusion. So I'll show you the diagram. So this is a diagram of the visual system. So here is our, can you see my cursors? Okay. So this is our eyes. This is the left eye. This is the right eye. This is what we are seeing. And we have the optic nerve here, and then after it crosses over at this point. This point is called optic chiasma. That's not important right now. And then there is this optic nerves transform into punch, thicker stuff, and they are called optical tracts. So whatever the eyes see, it's transformed into the electrical signals over here at the back of the eye. This organ is called the retina. You know, you have heard about the retina, Shyam? Optic chiasma is responsible for inversion of the image. Yes, very good. There's a crossing over, and that is some, yeah, it's responsible. No, that is not responsible. That is responsible for something else. That is responsible that actually the optic chiasma is responsible that whatever we see by the left eye is processed by the right side of the optical tract, and whatever we see by the right eye is partially processed by the left side of the optical tract. It doesn't cause the inversion of image. Inversion of image is caused at the retina. We see a retina. Okay, Shyam, tell me, what is the lens that we have in eye? What kind of lens? Concave or convex? What kind of lens does an eye have? Shyam? Yes, it is convex. And what kind of, you are in class 8, right? So you know image formation. What kind of images that convex lenses form from physics? Tell me. What kind? It's obviously a So this is in case of formation of real images by convex lenses, and convex lenses mostly form real images. Only in one case it forms virtual images. Otherwise, it always forms real images. And so, what is the characteristics of the images formed by convex lenses? Tell me. Chayam? Okay, I'll tell you. Yes, the images are real, obviously, since they are forming on a screen. Virtual images are not formed on a screen. So the retina is the screen in this case. And they are inverted. So the image that is formed by the lens on the retina is inverted. The inversion of image has nothing to do with the optical chiasm. I thought about the lateral inversion. You are talking about this inversion, top-down inversion. So that happens due to the convex lens. That doesn't happen due to the optic chiasm. Due to the optic chiasm, what happens is that for the optic chiasm, it happens the lateral inversion. So, like you can say the left part of your brain is responsible for the right part of your body, and the right part of your brain is responsible for the left part of your body. But anyway, we won't go into such details now. What I want to show is to that the information that we get in the eyes is converted into electrical signals over here in the retinal region. And these electrical impulses travel through the optic nerve and the optical tract to a region at the back of the brain called the occipital lobe. So this occipital lobe is responsible for us seeing stuff, anything that our eyes see, we see it, we can make sense of it due to the occipital lobe. And in case of the auditory system, the region is entirely different. So this is our ear, and from the inner ear, the auditory nerve goes and it reaches this region of the brain. So it's like here, this region of the brain, and this is called the parietal lobe. So behind is the occipital lobe, and here is the parietal lobe, and below that is the temporal lobe. So here it reaches here. So those are entirely distinct areas of the brain, and since there are no chances of confusion there. Is that clear, Shayo? You have any other questions about this? Because some other people do have. I'll take up if I.
There is someone from class 7 and that question. Can you just?
Yes, we will take it up right after this. Someone asked me a few questions. Yeah. So Kanchon asked, what is how color blindness occurs? So it's not exactly related to this, but I'll say it in very brief. So you saw the retina, na? Here. This retina has 3 types of cone cells: red cone cells, green cone cells, and blue cone cells, RGB. So they are not called red, green, and blue because they are red, green, and blue in color. They are called red, green, and blue because these different types of cone cells are responsible for perceiving the different colors. So suppose if someone doesn't have the red cone cell, then he won't be able to see the red color red, or anything close to red. So that causes the red yellow color blindness. And if someone doesn't have the green cone cells, sometimes it happens due to genetic factors. If someone does have the green cone cells, he will see the blue objects as also blue. He'll also see the green objects as somewhat blue. So he will have what we call the green blue color blindness. So it's caused by the absence of one or more types of cone cells in the retina. Is that clear, Kanchon? Okay. Ishan, what do you mean by we? We don't feel electrical signals. Our brain does. Our mind just perceives the images. Anyway, I don't want to confuse you. So what happens is that the electrical signals have varying potentials. So if you see a strong light, it will have more potential. If you see a dim light, it will have less potential. So by these varying properties of the electric potentials, we can actually make sense of what we are seeing outside. We see it because an image is formed at the back of the retina. That image information is converted into electrical impulses, is coded into electrical impulses. And these impulses are of various kinds depending on what color we are seeing, what intensity of light we are seeing, at what angle we are seeing. And according to that, we see that. No, Kanchan, that is not possible because we all have the same kind of cone cells. So what I see as green, you should also see it as green if you do not have any kind of color blindness, or I do not have any kind of color blindness, but I do not have a color blindness. I did the test. There is an easy test for color blindness. So since we all have the same kind of cone cells, it's not possible for us to see separate colors. Nuclei are just some portions of the brain. They are named like that. There is no reason. They are not linked to physics nuclei. Name of the test is color blindness test, Ritika. You search in Google, it's just the image. You have a green background and something is written, a number is written in that green background in blue. So if you can read it, that means you can separate between green and blue. That means you are not colorblind. If you can't read it, that means green and blue appears the same to you. That means you either lose green cells, green cone cells, or otherwise you lose blue cone cells. That means you can't see. So you have some sort of color blindness. Also some other question. Well, there's one other question, I guess. After that, we'll go to a very interesting question from class 7. Though Ishani is not there, I think it will be of interest to every one of you, and Moinak sir will be taking that question.
I think question is so let's take the question from class 7. Can you just go back?
Kanchan, yes, I'll just go back to this question. Kanchan, nobody has been born till now who had neither of the cone cells. But but we have some animals who have not so developed eyes as us, and they do not have any kind of cone cells. So they basically have a very low grade black and white vision. Even the black and white vision is not very clear. It won't be clear because the cone cells also help us in understanding the intensities and the contrast, not only the colors. So, okay, no more questions from that. We'll now take this question of Oishani. So, Moinak sir, please.
Yes, I think it's not here. Let's take the question and it's along with class 7. This is actually asked from chemistry. This is not a question of chemistry. She asked from a topic of matter. And what all we see here are typical states of matter. Difference of dark matter, antimatter, dark energy, degenerate matter. All these things are different ideas. So can we just go to the next slide?
Okay.
No. Just go back. Just the next slide. Back to the question. Go back. Yeah. Just the.
Okay.
Go it slow.
Yes.
Go it slow. Oh, you have missed the slide. Go it slow. Okay. Just go to the slide of the question of the matter. Accordingly, you get the slide after that. Just after this question. Matter.
Okay.
Go to the question of matter. This is light. After this, you have the question of matter.
this was the question of matter.
Yes, no, wait here. Why you're changing?
Okay.
Just after this.
Okay.
Go to the next slide. Just wait here. Okay. So everyone who is interested about dark matter, except as Vaishnavi is not here. Okay. So dark matter is actually a hypothetical form of matter that we have to account now. Okay. There is no specific significance interactions with the dark matter except gravity. So it is supposed to be 85% of the matter in the universe has to be the dark matter, which comes from several calculations from gravitational measurements now, which is going on with LIGO experimentations. And about 27% of its total mass and energy density relationships are actually covered. These things are actually not reliably measured in our normal laboratories. These are very much related to gravitational experiments in high energy physics. Okay. In general, what we have the model now, the energy of the universe contains 5% of the ordinary matter and energy. 27% goes to the contribution of the dark matter, and 68% goes to a form of the dark energy. Okay, so this energy, which she has asked, I think no, she is not here, but still, dark energy is a different form of energy again. And the observation, when we first used to observe the ideas of the gravitational pull and this whole universe, we first realized that the universe is expanding. Then we started realizing that the universe is expanding at a constant rate. And then all without precise calculations, we came to know that the universe is actually expanding and accelerating. So the universe is having an acceleration in its expansion. This was not going to be clear with any form of matter density and calculations of mechanics and dynamics, unless and until we put some extra energy. So that comes with that extra. Ranjini is asking how did scientists calculated that there are 85% of dark matter. It's about the idea of the expanse, energy density, and mass density concept, which is beyond the scope of your syllabus. We call it the spectroscopy. You don't have any spectroscopic ideas. I will try to show you some of these ideas. Just wait. So dark energies are first calculated with gravitational accelerated matters. Actually, gravitational calculations. Dark matter, dark energy. Can we go into the next slide? This is actually a simulated picture. No, just wait on that slide. Go back to the. Just wait here. This is actually a picture which is associated with the simulated calculations of dark energy. You can see filamentary ideas. These picture shows like filaments or roots of a plant, which are like not tapered, fibrous root systems. You can see these are like filaments. We call these filaments of energy. Okay, these red spots, which you can see here, are the hot spots where we have matter densities. Actually, the universe actually looks like this, where we have matter densities. They become red hot here in the radiation. So it clearly shows that the matter somehow connects the universe in sense of energetic domains, and these domains are like filaments. These are simulated pictures you can see. So this can give you a rough sketch of how the universe, the dark matter and the dark energy may appear in the universe. Why it is called dark is because there are no electromagnetic interruptions. These type of matters, if they exist even, still now it is hypothetical, if they exist even, they don't interact with electromagnetically. What do I mean by interact? Go sun between 12 to 3 p.m. Okay, your body will feel something out there in sun on a sunny day. So that's a kind of interaction. You will feel heat. It can be any vibration. It can be any chemical effects. No, we can't create dark matters and antimatters. Okay, we can't create matter. We don't have any permission and engineering to create matter, charge, and all these things. These are already conserved in nature. We are trying to create states where we can feel and study these matter antimatters. The way, yes, possibly, Sharbha, I am having actually a power cut. So actually, possibly my network is having a problem. So possibly that's why my voice is very low today. Okay, I'm trying to speak loudly as far as I'm trying. Yes, possibly. My voice is cracking, possibly due to network communication. I'm having a CPL power cut from last 5 hours. So possibly for that, network issues are coming. So these filamentary structures actually are related to the ideas of the interactions. Whatever interactions we see, we can call it as chemical or physical interactions or vibratory situations where we see some things to vibrate or oscillate. These all are interactions in nature. So these energies are actually interacting with systems having mass. So they don't electromagnetically interact, so we can't see them, but they interact gravitationally. So we can measure their effects by studying the gravitational pull created by them. So that's the only window to study dark matter, dark energies, and all these things. Okay, Moon, can you please go to the next one? There was one more state called degenerate matter. This is something very much different. Degenerate matters are something very much we call exotic matters. Okay, it's completely seen in highly dense state of fermionic matters. Now fermionic matters, you don't know, you can simply call them as spin-off particles like protons, electrons, neutrons, all these things. Okay, so what we see, they get to very high densities, and these high densities don't come in normal life. Okay, they come generally in cases of stellar densities. You can go to the you can see the next para. This term comes with dense stellar objects and immense gravitational pressures, and these immense gravitational pressures actually put the what I have written mechanical effects, so keep aside of that term. Just you can see these pressures create these high density states of these neutrons, protons, and electrons. And they are generally found in neutrons and white dwarfs, which are white dwarfs and neutron stars are actually the dying phases of the stars. Okay, which are very, very highly dense in their structure. Suppose to have a density view of them, you can think that 1 teaspoon of some material in a neutron star may weigh to some 10 billion kgs. Okay, so that can be your perceptible idea. So how heavy is that and how dense is that? 1 teaspoon, if it goes to 10 billion kgs, so that gives you a feel how dense it is. So white dwarfs, neutron stars are dying phases of a star, and we generally see degenerate excited matters in those states actually. So Moon, can we go to the next slide? This is one way to understand actually neutron stars, Kanchan, are dying stars. Okay, when a star dies, it dies through a last phase called neutron star, where it becomes very, very dense and becomes like a dot. So that's a neutron star. The neutron, the term neutron is referred with a particle neutron, which is highly dense and very small. So in analogous to that view, we name neutron star, but the star appears to be very small. This is actually a view of the degeneracy, technically degeneracy. Sun can happen. No, sun will not go with that idea, because for ideas of dying phases of stars, we have mass limits. Everything cannot be a neutron star and everything cannot be a white dwarf. There are ideas of masses related to it. Sun is a very minor star. We call it a minor. Okay, so it can't. So you see here the idea of degeneracy. The degeneracy is a technical thing that we see here. You can see, suppose there are 2 balls. Okay, take it as Monobrother says can't understand. Monobrother, what is your question? What can you? What is that part you can't understand? Can you write, Monobrother? Neutron stars are very small stars. When a star starts dying, it is the last phase through which it passes. It is just the last stage before it dies. It becomes very small and dense. That's a neutron star. Now you see here are 4 arrangements. You can see here as 4 arrangements. Okay, we have to place the black and yellow balls in these 4 arrangements. You can say up as 4 boxes. So in how many ways actually you can put up these black and yellow balls? I have done. you see there are 4 ways. There are 4 ways. The black ball and the yellow ball can come up with the first box and the second box being empty. Then we can have a black-yellow combination. Then we can have a yellow-black combination. Then at last we can have a black-yellow combination. So these are all possible 4 ways in which matter actually can take up, we say, the energy levels. Okay. And this is actually a practical scientific idea of how the matters get degenerate. So the below figure, what you can see the energy levels where the matter is actually taking place or occupying the energy level. So many matters are actually occupying the same energy levels. So they are getting dense and dense and dense. So they are getting highly dense and highly dense in their structures. So these high densities, extremely high densities, don't come in natural laboratories. So we need to wait for observations of these star systems. Kanchan is asking, sir, how many long the neutron stars last? So for how long actually? So neutron stars actually, any extragalactic systems, they last for many years, Kanchan. Actually, you can take minimum, they will last minimum for 1 billion years. 1 billion, 100 crores of years. Okay. So sun is a minor star. It can actually sustain for 10 billion years. So it is in the middle age. So that means it's just in the 5 billion years stage. So it will stay for another 5 billion years. So don't worry, we have enough time. And then again, this idea of degeneracy, we will come to with some other ideas. Okay. So what happens after neutron star stage? We get actually the nova stage. The nova is the death phase called. We either get a very high explosion of the star system, or we get a very low explosion. But the explosion occurs, we call it either a nova or a supernova. So it depends. I'm not going to the deeper aspects of the cosmological events with this matter. This is just a question. If you have any questions, you can ask it in forum. I will answer. Any questions from cosmology, if you are getting here, which we can't cover, you can put it in forum. Okay. How do we know, whatever Sam is asking, Sam, how do we know this, which take our whole lifetime to observe? How do we know this? Sam, I'm not clear actually. What lifetime to observe?
I think he's trying to ask, how do we know it lasts for billions of years when we are like only living for 100 years? Is it Sam? Yes. Okay. I was asking that.
So the universe is a cauldron, in that cauldron, the information never dies. The information is absolutely preserved. So if we are good enough in observing the information stored at some point right now, here in Earth, you can always look onto the informations. And how these informations are accessible, they are basically photons. Okay. Whatever the light you are receiving here right now in Earth, they are billions and billions of years ago. The star exploded with a photon. That photon penetrated just not to your eyes. It has traveled for 7 billion years. Now, for the 7 billion years, the information was inside the photon. So it has not decayed, has not changed, has not died or anything. The information is perfectly there. So when the photon gets a hit to your instruments, to our observatories, we decode the photon and get the information. So whatever may be our age, it doesn't matter. We don't bother for the age of mind. Okay, these photons, which are coming from 7 billion, 10 billion, 14 billion years, the last and old age photons, whatever we have observed till now is a 13.78 billion years old. So that gives exactly the information how the universe looked some 13 billion years ago, because the universe has a way to decode the information inside the photon. The photon carries it perfectly without any loss. It's a super engineering, you can tell. Okay, we don't have such engineering methods that we have no loss in communication. Okay, like we are having a glitch in my voice. This is our engineering, but the nature's design is supreme. The photons don't lose the information and energy. So if you can decode a photon, it will give you the energy. And you know how to decode a photon? Simply stop the photon. It will give you the energy. Okay. When the photon stops, it gives you the information. So basic way to stop the photon is just to capture the photon in an instrument. Like your eyes, retinas are actually capturing the photon and making them stop. You are asking about the signals of brains. In those photons, we have electrical potentials. So the brain actually gets electrochemical potentials, which are different, and thus we actually can differentiate about different signals. And that way also we can learn. So we can know the starting of the universe. Yes, we can do so, but that needs the intense mathematical ideas, not by observations only. We need intense mathematical ideas. So this was all about the matter. We have another question. Sir, how do we know the distance? Okay, so it's actually, how do we know that it is taking the time? Distance means space actually. The space is actually not separated here. Okay, I will come in a different discussion. Please put these questions in forum, okay? Because otherwise the time will be enlarged one. Okay. Yeah, space time challenge. Please put these questions, whatever you're having in mind in forum, I will answer. Okay, we have one more question from 7, then we move to class 9 on higher classes.
Yeah, we
Yes.
have the light question.
Yes,
Light.
go back to that light question. There was one more question. Vaishani is not here, but she asked about, it's an interesting question, is that, is the reason that nothing can go faster than light because we have not tried hard enough? No, Vaishani and all others in here, from 5 to 4 to 8 or 4 to 9 or 4 to 10, whatever, we have tried really hard enough. It's not our trial. It is actually something very different. Okay. Ishan is asking, sir, can I send a video regarding this topic? I think you can post. Just take in the app. Okay, Moon, let's go to the next slide. So, what you can see here is actually the effect of the electric field on the blue part of an electron. Okay, or a proton, or a charged particle simply. And on the right side, what you can see is the effect of the magnetic field. So whenever an electron or a proton or a charged particle tries to move through a region of the electric field, it gets a bend. And whenever it tries to move through a region of the magnetic field, it tries to have a spiral path like this. So in a combination to this, we actually get the electromagnetic field. Moon, can we go to the next slide? So here you can see the combination. The green and the red, the green is the electric field and blue, red is the magnetic field, what you can see. So when the two are combined, actually the nature has combined them. We don't have any way to separate it out simply. So put forward simply, this is electromagnetic wave. So when these electric and magnetic fields combine, they actually, Ishan, any questions, please put in forum. So everyone can see it. Okay, if you want to the questions to see everyone, you can put in forum and group both. Okay, but I will answer from forum. Okay.
So the method is that we put the questions in forum. Even the questions
Put the
we
questions
get,
in
we
forum,
put
yes.
it. Yeah. That way everyone can view and answer it properly and it stays in the app. It is not lost. You may send a message in WhatsApp, it gets lost under new messages.
Yes. So put it in forum. So here you can see the electromagnetic waves actually. These are called radiations. Okay. When the electric and magnetic field gets combined, it gets to the electromagnetic wave. In this way, the electromagnetic wave can actually provide it. It can travel in a direction. Now, whatever the light is traveling with a speed, a certain speed, is actually the electromagnetic wave which is traveling. Now, why can't we have greater speeds than light is actually not related to the speed technically. It is related to the kind of response that we were seeing in the last slides, how the charge gets a response, it gets bent. How the charge gets a response from the magnetic field, it gets a curling effect. So those are the responses actually. And the response related to the travel of light through vacuum has not changed over some 13.7 billion years. So that's the basic reason why we don't see the speed of light. We can't go across the speed of light. It's not that we pushed ourselves. It's actually the reason is related to the quality, we can say, of the vacuum and how the vacuum responds. So as you go up, you will come across these things more and more, and we can have a discussion on this. Okay, I think these questions are done. Any questions related to this?
So we are done with all questions from class 7. And
Yes.
I think
So
from
7 and
class
8
8
is
as
also done. I think. Just check.
Okay, there is just one question from Jayashri, and Reema ma'am will be taking this question. Reema ma'am, are you there?
Yes, yes. Here only.
So Jayashri, you are present? Please respond if you are present. I saw you before. Are you there still? She is there.
Okay, Jayashree is asking, especially for 3042. She has written a direct message that she wants this question for specific number, that is 3042. So Jayashree, I have not mentioned your number. I have just an example with a small number, that is 2. If you know how to solve it by division method, then you can solve it for 3042 as well. Okay. So you know how to solve it? Yes. So can we skip this question now? If you still have any problem, then you can put it in the discussion forum. Okay, I am going to yes, I am going to show you with an example. You will be understand. So can we move to the next slide? Yeah, here I am taking a small, very small number, that is 2. You know 2 is not a perfect square number, right? So how to find out the square root of 2? So as we know how to start with the division method, we start from 1. First, you know how to group the numbers, right? Yes. So you know how to group the numbers. Here, the first number is 2, and the first number from which 2 is divisible, we can take up by number 1, right? The whole square number. So we start with 1. 1 is divisible. So 1 again, the 1 will be the remainder, and we will again put up the next 0, 0 to the next one. Here we are carrying the 0, 0 from after decimal, so we will put a point in the quotient, right? Then we continue from 4. The 1 plus 1 is equals to 2. So again we will continue with 24, and it will continue up to what is the demand of your actually, I wanted to know whether we can get its value in actual number. No, if the number is not in a perfect square numbers, then you will definitely get the square root in decimal form only. Okay, Jasmine. If the number is not in perfect square, then you will get only in the decimal form. So you will continue this division up to what is the demand of the question. If question says up to 2 decimal point, then you will continue for the 3 decimal points. Okay, and if the question asks for the 3 decimal points, then you have to continue the division method up to 4 decimal points. That is what the method is. Okay, you can't get a number in a natural number if the number is not in a perfect square. Okay. So Jayashree understood this question. We can move forward.
Okay, so all the questions for classes 6, 7, and 8 have been done. There were no other questions on the app. But so if you want to stay back, there's only one another question from class 9. You can stay back. You're most welcome to. Otherwise, you can leave as well. And if you have any question, put it in the chat box, but we can't guarantee we will take it today because time is already we are
Yeah.
late.
Better you can put that question in discussion forum.
Yeah, or you can put it in the next week's DCS as well, whatever suits you. So 6, 7, 8, you can leave or you can wait. We just have one question from classes 9 and 10.
Kanchan,
Kanchan,
please
put that.
question
Please
in
put that in
discussion.
the. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a big question.
Yes, Jayashree, you can follow the same process for 3042 as well.
So from classes 9 and 10, we only received one question. So this is a pattern we have been seeing, that we are receiving less questions from 9 and 10. So if other 9 and 10 students are present here, I would urge you to put more questions in the DCS as well as in the forum, because it's important that you interact. So we'll be taking these questions. This question is from Farhan Chaudhary, class 9. I don't think Farhan is there. Are you there, Farhan? He's not here, but I'll just take the question. So everyone knows what the hero's formula is for calculating the area of a triangle. So this is the formula where S stands for half of perimeter, which is also called the semi-perimeter. So perimeter is the sum of the three sides. You divide the perimeter by 2, you get the semi-perimeter. And ABC are the sides of the triangle, and this is the formula for obtaining the area of a triangle in general. So Farhan was asking it for in case of an equilateral triangle. For an equilateral triangle, all the sides are equal in length. So A equal to B equal to C. We just put that, we just replace ABC by just A is the length of each side in an equilateral triangle, and we get this formula. This is a special derivation, but we don't even need this derivation. If we know what the sides are in an equilateral triangle, we know they are equal. We can just put it over here as well, and we'll obtain the area. Okay, so that brings us to the end of today's DCS session. Anybody has any questions regarding what we discussed in the DCS session today? Like directly related to it. Otherwise, we can end it. Okay, Shayam. Okay, anybody else? Any questions related to what we discussed today in DCS?
Ritika is asking me that can we find cube for the division method? Yes, Miss Ritika, not exactly, but to some extent we can find cube root also with the division method.
For the cube root, we need to take 3 zeros instead of 2.
Instead of the grouping is somehow the difference. Okay. And Jayashree is asking if we don't have condition of a certain method, then what? Jayashree, I'm not getting your question.
She's, I think, trying to say that for finding square root of non-perfect square numbers, so we need the number of decimal places, no?
Yeah, so Jayashree, for the decimal places, you can go up to only 3 places, right? If there is no mention in the question, you can go up to only 3 places. That is enough. That is more than enough.
Okay. So no other questions, anyone? Thank you for being present in this DCS session. Thanks to Rima ma'am, thanks to Moinak sir. So good night, everyone. Hope to see you in classes tomorrow and the next day. Okay, bye. Harsh has raised his hand. Harsh, you have a question? Shayam, you do not have a question tomorrow, but others have.
Yeah, Harsh, you can say.
Ma'am, I'm from class 6. Ma'am, I'm from class 6. One more group has been made for the separate classes. So the number that has been added for the class 6 new group is my dad's number. So he goes to office, so the messages can't come to us. So can you add one more number I'm giving to you in the chat
Uh,
box?
yeah, if possible, you can text that number to Rajesh Singh. He will add up to you in that group. Okay.
Okay,
If
ma'am.
it is possible, text that number to Rajesh Singh and convey your message to him.
Okay, ma'am.
He will do the same.
Okay. So thank you, everyone. I'll end the session now.